It'll be like a web story, and
I'm
then
installing.
I don't know.
Where they backtracked on
Oh, yes.
reuse institutional controls.
No, I hadn't heard that.
Taste it. I regretted that.
Right?
Well, you're about to, I guess.
first. I guess.
I didn't know that you hadn't seen it. I wish I would have brought a copy of it.
Oh,
Nope.
they are. Yeah. So do you have an app?
It's
that I
published
can
on the town's
install?
website,
just
but
do AZ Family under.
Not .com?
Well, so you go to where you would download your app.
Oh,
So
that's
do you
the
have,
Play Store. Play Store.
You know the really scary thing
she's giving an interview.
Yeah,
is
and you
our
just,
Freya goes all the way down
just type in AZ
to like Sun Lakes, where I used to live, down by there.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes all the way.
So it's not
All the way
even,
through.
It's not really even localized. I mean, if you're talking about it moving, I mean, it's way diluted down there, but it's still moving.
That's it?
Yeah, the Agua Fria
Contaminated.
goes all the way down through Surprise, and then I think it hits the Colorado River on
Really?
that side down there, yeah.
Oh. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't realize it was that long. I actually followed it on GIS one night.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the news in so long.
Have you guys read the letter, Kip, that was issued in April from EPA to the town?
I get it.
I have not.
Okay.
Well, how was it issued?
It was a letter from Michelle to Mayor Finn in the beginning of April.
How would we have seen that?
The town posted it on their website,
Oh,
and
Oh, maybe I did see that.
I
What are you talking about?
the letter that was sent from Michelle, EPA, to Mayor Finn and the council. No. It basically walked back everything the environmental team has been working on for the last 2 years. They, in a roundabout way, advised the town not to continue with the deal with Dakota Logging, that liability could happen with it. They said as far as the soil management ordinance and institutional controls, they had never seen anything like that adopted at any other Superfund site.
That's bullshit.
Yes. It went on to say that reuse at the site was going to be minimal to none.
This is what Matthew Fenn is telling EPA?
EPA wrote this letter to Matthew Fenn.
Sorry.
So what you hear out of him now is EPA is not going to allow reuse. Don't need the deal with Dakota Logging. There's too much liability there. They go on to criticize the work that Spire did, which he hired my LLC as part way to go out and try to get these 121 access agreements, the list EPA gave us. That's what I was talking to Michelle over at the MAP on.
you'd have to expand that 10 times for me to read it.
Can we get a copy
What
of
is it?
this?
The letter?
It should be on the website.
It's on the website, but
Yeah.
I'll email you a copy because
I remember reading that.
so our meeting yesterday, Brittany and Brad's meeting, immediately went into now backtracking on, well, we can now have unrestricted reuse even on the repositories themselves. EPA absolutely does have institutional controls, and there was some back and forth on what does that mean.
Okay, sorry, I postponed her 4 times and walked
that's
away.
That's okay.
Question.
So I was just updating. Have you met all these folks?
I think so. Hi.
Kip, you're still
Yep.
on planning and zoning, right?
Yes.
Okay. You know Brittany, Susie?
Yep.
Are you still on planning and zoning?
No.
Or were you? No. Okay.
General plan.
Lynn used to be council. What does Matt refer? Former council member.
Former council member.
Of course,
The
you know Amy.
EPA crap kind of started with our council. It
Yeah.
actually started in 2017, and then everybody just said, well, we don't need to do that. And No, we do need to do that.
Yeah. So I was just briefly updating them, kind of on one of my main concerns right now. The meeting we had yesterday, the brief part. They haven't actually read the letter. Brittany has, I think, that was written by you, right?
Okay.
Sent to Mayor Fenn. So we were just kind of going over that a little bit, and what our discussion was yesterday as far as reuse and institutional control.
So you're with the EPA?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle Rogo.
Hi, Kip Brandt.
I am the manager of all of the Superfund sites in Arizona.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
How's
That's
that going
impressive.
it was okay.
So the reuse
Still
plan
breathing.
that was drafted as a result of at least 2 of the meetings I went to back in 2020.
The reuse assessment that was issued.
Yeah.
One was issued
And
in
now they're just
2010,
going to
2020.
throw that all away?
No, not at all.
No?
No, I think this is where things get really complicated because we need to do the design for the
Yeah.
repositories first.
Yeah.
And I really think, one of the things I was explaining this actually to my manager, one of the things that people don't understand, there's so much like, throw it all together, everything's all the same. There's just like 39 separate areas that we consider that are different parts of the site, right? And one of the things that's happening is that everybody's sort of bucketing it all together when they're talking about the site, right? And it's not that way. Like our goal with the residential properties is to clean them up so that they're no longer part of the site, right? Like our goal is to actually shrink the size of the site. That also is true for the residential property. I mean, the non-residential properties. Like we want to take even the waste in the industrial areas and move it into a smaller area. So if you I guess my best, perspective on this is or my best example of this is if you take the smelter, right?
Yep.
There's waste over a large area of that entire property.
I read the reuse. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, not even the reuse, but just if you think about it, you got the smelter waste, you got where the stack was, you got the dross waste, you got all the stuff hanging over the Agua Fria River,
Yep.
right? You have what's in the Agua Fria.
Yep.
You have there's all these kind of there's tailings waste that comes down the gulch on that side as well, almost all the way to the confluence. And then there's a dam, which most people may or may not know it. There's a dam with mine waste tailings behind the dam.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it goes down.
I'd like to see that.
Where
is that?
Oh, it's a walk.
Down the chaparral.
I haven't been to it, but I've seen the satellite pictures.
Yeah,
I've
I have
seen
been
the
there a
maps.
bunch of times. With the team trying to figure out that's going to be the last piece we're going to take out, but we're going to leave that in there. But so the goal is to take all of that waste in that whole area that's all over the place and put it in a single repository.
Okay.
The rest of that whole area, our goal is for that to be unrestricted use. Anything could happen. The only area that we're looking at in terms of restricted use is the actual repository footprints and around the repository. So, I think part of the problem is a lot of times when we're talking about reuse, we're only thinking about the repositories, right? And if you look at just even the square footage, the acreage of the repositories versus the entire site, the goal basically is just investing in this. We're gonna just try to do this, and then be okay, this is the piece that you can't put
Anything
a highway through, or a mall on, right? But that area, even in that area is, it's not going to be small, but it's small in comparison.
How many
A
acres?
fraction.
That's a really good question.
I think the smelters.
Because I see things in acre.
I think
size.
it's 300, 100. I want to say 300, but I may be wrong on that. It might be 160.
So let me work on that, because I think one of the things that would be really helpful is what's the acreage of the entire site versus what are the acreage of the repositories, because then you get a feel for like, what do you want to focus on? Like, you should focus on reuse of the areas that are not the repositories. Why, for some reason, the focus of the, oh my gosh, we don't get reuse is on the repositories? Doesn't really make much sense.
I don't think anyone is focused on reuse of repositories. I think,
Oh, really?
I think everyone understands that the cover is going to have to be there permanently and is going to be monitored. I don't think anyone's looking to put ball fields necessarily on top of the repository.
Oh, we've heard that.
The issue that we're having, and I think you identified that yesterday as a miscommunication. What is put in writing to our town is really the official documented communication with EPA, right? What you're telling us here, what you told us in the meeting yesterday, is not necessarily what's recorded to the rest of the world. So when the letter was received in April to the community, you identified the soil management ordinance, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. You specifically say in there,
Warm, huh?
little,
I know, I was just going to say.
little
It's a warm spot.
to no reuse on the repositories. Now, yesterday in our conversation, you said, you're hopeful and maybe that we could have reuse, even unrestricted reuse on the repository. So now we have three different takes of what are we getting? We have Michael Montgomery documented saying the town's reuse ideas are acceptable. And then out of the blue, we get this letter from you to council, to Mayor Fenn, that just kind of blows everything out of the water. And even as far as Dakota Logging, 2 weeks before that, we sat through the meeting with Dakota Logging. We all left pretty comfortable, where you told them we don't come after people who didn't commit or cause the contamination. Don't make it worse, right? And they left feeling better. And then we get this letter from you that, in my opinion, when I read the letter, it was like almost like a fear tactic to the council. Don't follow through with this deal with Dakota Logging. Be cautious that bona fide purchaser agreement may not apply to you and any liability could transfer to the town. We just had this meeting with you, 3 council members, the environmental team, and they specifically asked you in the meeting, Jim did, do you guys have any concerns with us going through with this property deal? And you and Jeff both said no. And then we get this official letter that says something completely different. So I think that's where we're having a hard time understanding what exactly is going on. What is the official position of EPA on soil management, reuse, Dakota Logging, property deals? And continually, we hear one thing in private and then we receive something else in writing. So I'm not sure how we correct that at this point. And these people, they're sitting here today because these are very active members in the community. They attend council meetings, they talk. We have planning and zoning. Bruce is here. He talks to everybody in the community. So that's why they're here, part of this conversation, because it's confusing for all of us. So how do we officially clarify what reuse is possible? Is it restricted? Is it unrestricted? Is it on repositories, off repositories? Clarify the difference between institutional controls, soil management ordinances. I don't know where. In your letter to the town, it makes it sound like you have been presented with a soil management ordinance. Have you seen anything that the town has drafted?
We've seen nothing.
So where is your statement then to the town where you say we have not seen anything?
We have not seen anything.
Pamela wrote one. I saw it once.
We've never seen it. Okay. So here's part of the issue. We don't know what's going on between the town and council. The town and the town council, the town and their legal counsel, and the town and their environmental folks. We've seen almost zero, like in a at all. Like, we attend the town council meetings just like y'all and hear the same thing you do, right? But we hear everything is told to us verbally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
and
going
we
to stop.
have.
You need to get stuff in writing.
Well, so this is the issue, for example, about the town's reuse plans being okay. We've never seen any plans from the town. What we said in that meeting with Mike Montgomery, which I was at, he said, please submit us what you want to do with reuse, and we'll evaluate it.
I'm on the general plan steering committee. We discussed that at length. Our plans for the Superfund site after it was capped and remediated and all that stuff, and they've told you none of that.
We haven't seen anything.
Yes, the general plan was submitted to EPA.
The general plan was submitted to EPA,
correct,
but it doesn't have, there isn't, from our perspective, the general plan is a state document between the town and the state, right?
Yep.
About generally
Then that's what we were
zoning
told that you
stuff.
needed was general.
I understand. I can tell you what we said is we don't get involved in general plans. That's not a federal thing.
Right.
But
so we were.
But if you're wanting to know what our plan was for that area, it is in. It should be in there.
So I can tell you, we received that. Our lawyers reviewed it because that's where it goes. It goes to our legal review, and then we just hear, we honestly just hear ideas, right? We got these verbal ideas, and we even say we don't even know, for example, what that means.
Okay, there's been absolutely no public involvement by the public in the general plan at all. It has been kept secret. The meetings have been kept secret. They're not announced in an overt way. The last time the first general plan that they had was in 08 and 09, and there were full-page, half-page articles in the town newsletter. Nothing in this, ever. Maybe a 2-inch square space, maybe 2 by 3-inch square space in the newsletter about a general plan update. I attended the one workshop. There was no notice about the outreach workshop at all. In the newsletter, maybe a tiny little 2-sentence thing. It is like on the down low, on purpose. And as far as I'm concerned, it's violating state law as far as public outreach. The state law says continuous and ongoing. That has not happened in our town at all. And it's disgusting. So I've been through 4 general plans down in the East Valley in just one town. And I studied this one up here when I moved up here. So I know exactly how they're supposed to work, and this is not working.
So
you're not the only one in the dark.
So I would say that just keep in mind that if you don't have information,
I know.
we don't have that same
Exactly.
information. We don't generally ever get involved, but the information, like it's the same with the soil management ordinance. If you've seen something more than we have.
No, and
we've seen nothing, but we have been told things like this is where EPA is in a challenge, because we're told things like, well, we're telling the community that because EPA is requiring the soil management plan, we're like, we haven't asked you to do anything. So that's what the letter was about.
Who was telling you that? Was not the environmental team that told you that. No, it wasn't, because there is not a soil management ordinance that has been presented to the community yet for discussion. Jim presented a draft, a month or so more. It's been
longer than that.
It's been turned down several times. But a draft was given to council for review. The public has not seen it. Council has not come back and addressed it publicly and discussed what's in that soil management ordinance. So when you issue a letter to the town that says
that EPA is not
that's not what your letter said. That's not what your letter said. Your letter said the town should be careful in issuing a soil management and should stick to the Superfund site, and EPA does not know of any type of soil management like this that has been passed at other Superfund sites. What is like this, and what type of soil management ordinance are you talking about? Because we have seen nothing.
We were asked specifically if we knew of any communities that had soil in Superfund sites, that have Superfund sites. So we're just looking around MPL sites where the town has issued a soil management plan to the community as separate from the Superfund site.
So did Ben
Okay,
ask
that's
you
not
that?
that's not true, because California Gulch, East Helena, Butte, Midvale, our environmental attorney stood up and gave 5 different examples of towns that have soil management ordinances on residential properties with even permit requests, free permitting, right? You go to the town website, here it is, here's your permit, has your property been tested, is it cleaned, remediated? So that is completely false. He gave an example of 5. How many more are there out there? We can do the research and pull them up if you would like to see them. But to issue that kind of public statement to the entire community that you don't know of this type of soil management is completely false. So where does the accurate information start coming to the community? Now we have a council who is completely divided, that doesn't think institutional controls need to happen, even be discussed. We have a mayor who is now running around telling everyone that EPA is against reuse. Reuse isn't going to happen. We don't need to go through the deal with Dakota logging. It's only a liability issue. So what is it? Where is EPA's true position on these issues?
A lot of these issues are local issues. They have really nothing to do with EPA.
Those are all local political issues. The EPA can't be involved in any of that.
I mean, and that's part of our thing. We're sort of being pulled into a number of things that we don't have anything to do with private property transfer. We've told you we don't have anything to do with real estate. We can't have any involvement in zoning.
So
We don't have anything to do with local ordinance and ordinances being passed.
there's no flags or anything whenever you transfer a property in regards to a Superfund site either. I mean, there's nothing on the title, the deed to inform people.
If we have a lien on the property. So in some cases, the properties actually EPA puts a lien because we have a financial interest in that property. For example, the mine and the smelter have liens on them that
What about all
EPA
the
has put on them
residential
so that if the property is sold, that the benefit from that sale goes to the EPA to pay for the Superfund site rather than somebody gaining a financial benefit from selling the property.
But in our situation, that lien did not work on the smelter property in 2023, right?
Not to say that everything, I would have to get back to you on it. I know that there's been the smelter or the mine.
The smelter,
Yeah,
the 20
yeah.
acres of the smelter property that was sold, and he didn't know about the lien, but the lien now transfers to him, and now he has
And once
Superfund
again,
liability.
this is that's a local issue because we file those with Yavapai County. We don't get involved in property transfer. EPA doesn't, the federal government doesn't regulate property
The
transfer.
residential properties are not listed at all. So there's
No,
no
they do not have
protections other than the
liens.
people telling us that for sure that it's contaminated.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's supposed to.
It's
in real
unfortunate
estate
that
law.
I have a $350,000 home that means jack crap and all my life investments in it.
So
And it's contaminated.
We have to get after the real estate agents who
Well,
are letting
you know,
this happen.
I know, but also something needs to be done in regards to protecting people from these people that are out here selling properties and acting like nothing's
This
wrong
is
with
the
them.
town's job. As far as I'm concerned, this town's job to make sure that real estate agents, this is a local thing. Real estate agents need to make sure that things are being disclosed that have anything to do
Well, at the
with
same
it.
time,
I mean, what we're trying to do on our end, and it's one of the things that I think has been tough in the past, but because of the technology now, we have more of an opportunity. We're trying to actually put our maps online so people can go and look and see, right? This is the property. It hasn't been sampled, because that didn't exist before. We gave paper maps to the town. There's no GIS system on this town.
I have a VA
Right.
loan, and and they look into that, and it didn't even come up. It just said Humboldt smelter site and nothing else.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say at the
it-
same time how some of this stuff turns from rumors into fact that's not fact. Is that doesn't mean a city council person from the town or a mayor goes and has private conversations with somebody at a local EPA office, and they just have a conversation. And maybe in that conversation, that person does say something of their own personal nature towards that particular topic. Well, that ends up turning into maybe that person telling other people, well, the EPA now is against this. Or see, that's not an official statement from the EPA. That is an employee giving their opinion on a topic they were having with a mayor of the town at the time. And that suddenly turns into fact
And the
through
problem,
rumor.
Which is, and part of our problem, and this is why we're trying to do, honestly, part of, and I feel like it backfired a little bit, but part of the purpose for that letter was because sending a letter to the mayor and the council put that information out to the public as well, right? So that there wasn't just a conversation, there was this is an information, and everybody can see that information. Now, I do think, and our headquarters kind of dinged me on it. They were like, there's a few words you missed here, and I was like, oh, you're right.
A lot of words that gave a different.
Well,
take.
I mean, I think that I needed to say specifically institutional controls with respect to CERCLA. Like, we do institutional controls under Superfund. If the town chooses to do separate institutional controls or ordinances outside of the CERCLA process, that EPA has no involvement whatsoever in that.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
And that's what we were trying to say. We were trying to say we are hoping that within the town there won't be, that we will be able to clean up properties, but we know that there are residential properties that haven't given access for sampling.
But we're going to clean properties before we finish.
And
We finish the final project, and then are they going to retest properties after they move materials and stuff like that? After everything's done, like I live right this. It's the smelter.
At the smelter.
The smelter's right at the end of the street, and I mean, whenever they remediate my property again, and then they move materials.
Are you on the
She's on. Main
Are you on the
Street.
rail line?
Yeah.
Is that why you're
on
saying
Main
it
and
again?
Third.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they remediate it again, and then they move materials up and down my street and don't water them,
They shouldn't be moving materials up and down your street.
or
And the reason for that is that material is going to be in the repository on that side. Well, part of the reason we did this, we looked at this two remedies, or the split remedy, two repositories, is not to move material through the town.
Well, you're going to take the contaminated residential soil from that side and put it on the smelter and the repository.
It's not going to be on the smelter. We're actually it's going to go. All the residential waste is going to go onto the mine site, probably. At least that's the current plan.
On the tailing?
That
tailing side.
wasn't in Plan B because
No,
now you
that-
have trucks and everything else going across the highway.
Yeah, I
It's
was
the only
told that
one, but
wasn't-
and it's because we have a holding area on the.
I heard this one on the smelter side. Are you going to fill it?
Well, we have an area on the smelter side that we're looking at.
And I
We have
was-
2 locations on the smelter side that we're looking for potential repositories.
Because we
And
were also told
part of it is the design.
nothing's going to be
like
moving
figuring
across
out.
that highway to the tailing
Yeah,
side.
that's what we've all been told
And
until just right
I
now.
am on that other side of the highway. Now that makes grave concerns of all the dust and everything else it's going to pick up. So,
Well, all the trucks will be covered,
somebody's
but yeah.
not telling the truth.
So here's
No.
but they're.
I think
I
it's
mean,
part
the
of
trucks
it.
are going to be covered, but whenever
And
they're
I was
coming up and
told
down
this
that
by
road, they're
you
not
guys
watering it
on
ever.
the farms a while back.
I think part of the issue is that once again, this project is so big. There are so many pieces.
And
to
it's
it.
been going on for so extremely
It has been
long.
going on for a long time.
For way too long.
well, one of the big problems that I just now heard about from you is we have a mayor that met without council approval with an outside agency. We have a town code that requires town council approval of outside meetings between council members, mayors, and outside agencies. You cannot represent a town position or bargain on behalf of the town with an outside agency unless you have had a vote of the council to give you permission to do so.
I just think really on EPA's part, if I was EPA And I had an environmental team in place with consultant and attorneys. And I had a mayor continually reaching out to me for information and advice without his attorneys and consultants. I would be a little hesitant of sharing open information without him, with him without saying, hey, where's your environmental team? Let's make sure that this is all
So
documented.
the people who live here have a right to know about all of this.
Well, and that was where I was going to go.
I'm sorry about
All
it.
these meetings
They
that are done
definitely
behind
know
closed
that.
doors, and then they come out and they tell us only what we want to know. We don't know, as people in this town, we do not know what really is going on.
Yeah.
And that is, I think that it's wrong, and the people of this town should be able to know what's being said, instead of just telling us,
Should be.
a 2-hour meeting and we get maybe 5 minutes of
Dust is
information.
constantly getting picked up. I've seen the table dust blown.
Yeah, the town paid for the junket down to Phoenix. So,
maybe
you
they should
know.
ask for that road just to stop it. Something,
Yep.
But,
I don't know. I've only been doing this
and I
since
was
2021.
definitely told they were not going to keep everything on
Sorry you're stuck in the middle of it.
I can't even freaking tell. I listed my house. I had it on the market for 6 months, and every single person backed out. And my everything.
Sorry.
Oh, then the smelter.
Yeah, it started way back in 2009 when realtors were deciding to keep it secret.
Well, so in town hall meetings, there is a meeting with the EPA where the EPA specifically advised the town to not issue any building permits for the properties that were contaminated. And my home's building permit was issued after that.
See, and I think that's why the soils thing came up, is because I've been pushing really hard for them to create a soils ordinance, because I just had somebody digging on the property that's right next to mine.
Oh,
Wind blowing.
yeah.
He didn't, at the time, he didn't have a permit.
I live at Main and
There
Third.
should be no more building permits issued without soil.
The people across the street from me were having work done, and they had contractors out there, and they started digging. I'm like, hey, hold
The
on.
flag? Are you
And I
talking
got a
about
hold
the
of her.
flag?
I was like,
There's no
like,
ordinance. They can do it.
I'm like, what are you going to do with this dirt? Oh, we're just going to dump it at the end of the street. No, you're not.
Testing was, I guess we got
See, if it wasn't for us.
I got a hold of her, and she got a hold of the environmental attorney, and they stopped that quick. Because I was like, this is
I've been
not.
pushing for a town soils ordinance for just that reason.
You're on the other
The
side,
push
then
for
you
that
live in
started
the
2007.
neighbor, Brittany.
Remedy
Okay.
I didn't know.
I know.
No, I
Okay.
just did this.
Yeah, my
because-
house was built in 19, and it was remediated in 17.
Well, Remedy Couch
that
lost
lovely?
her husband to kidney cancer. And she spoke at a town council
Yours
meeting
is?
during public comment in 2017 saying we need
I-
about soil.
Okay,
when
I
to
used
move
to
it,
be
how to move
right
it,
on the Agua
and all
Fria,
of
right
that.
across
Nothing
from
happened.
the smelter. Now I live at the
And
very
it's
top of Blue
unfortunate
Hills. So.
because at
we-
that time we had a mayor
Yeah.
who actually owned property in the Superfund site.
No,
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I had the geologist come out. I have zero
Very
arsenic
unfortunate.
in my
It's
well, zero
disgusting.
lead, almost zero arsenic in the soil.
I
So
need to get my well tested. I mean, I have old stuff from the old owner, and there's some arsenic, but it's natural, only the natural.
Yeah.
level.
I
It's
can
just
tell you
arsenic
that
everywhere, you know?
in the 3 years I've been coming to these things, even if it's lip service,
Get a
that's
lot of
Brian
that.
over there, right?
That's Brian over
Is
there.
that Brian? Brian today is the first person who has given me any type of positive feedback. Because normally these things are like, you have your charts, you have your EVP people at their tables, and they have limited information on what they can tell you, what's going to happen. But I explained to Brian just like she did. And that is, you have a situation at my property where my tests are in, my tests are good. What are they? The reason why is because 300 yards from my porch is visible tailings.
The blue house.
Now I physically watched a dust devil come along, pick up those tailings and turn it into an orange tornado, take a left turn and go and dust
There was
foothill
an RV store
and
on
all
the
the
back of
homes
the
over there.
property.
Well, now that's been happening for decades. That's been happening for the 16 years that you guys have been here. But it's not my point. It also happened the day after my test. Results were in. and in all the time between them. So is there more contaminants being through that wind process? And I'm not just bringing up something that people don't know. Me being a construction superintendent, how frustrating it is to look over at that tail piling and go, wow, all it takes is a Home Depot card. I guess the EPA doesn't have one of those.
No, they took them all away.
Okay. Because all you have to do is go get a temporary Band-Aid and take a tarp over there and put it, especially at the smelter, because the smelter has a smaller pile that's still left that they didn't put that caustic stuff they did a long time
The
ago. when they
Posy
sprayed
shell?
on it.
Yeah.
Well, they just left it. So to me, that is got that chance of recontamination of places that were already tested, and all it takes is a tarp. And no one's claiming, oh, that's all they're going to do. No, it's just a temporary Band-Aid to a condition
Keep
we
the
can see
dust down.
we're at.
Yeah.
So how much are we gonna all chip in for the tarp? Because I'm totally down. Let's just go do
My
it.
concern is running out of money before the project's done.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern.
It is 100% a
So-
legitimate concern.
Right now,
And the cost of everything just keeps going
oh,
up.
and it does keep going up. I
But
mean,
it-
that's what I mean. We're not, and that it's interesting because I think even you were asking me, our original estimate was 100 million, and I was saying that's just for the construction part of it, but I really think that might be
That's
half
horrible.
than
Makes me
what it's
think of
probably
using
going to
that California
cost.
train. So
Well,
didn't
I mean,
go
I think that we've seen what inflation has done over the years. We're seeing costs of things like transportation and
just trade.
and all trades
That's a lot
trades
of has to do with
post COVID
trade.
have gone up like
It
skyrocketing.
almost seemed like Department of
We
Engineers or
did
somebody there.
did an estimate, I think, and we found that our costs like 5 years ago and what they are now are Brian and I were
Three
talking about
times as
this.
much easy.
Well, at least 50% more
Yeah.
than they were. But we won't know until we actually go out for bid
Cut a big chunk.
and we see. And what we have funded currently,
So Army Corps of Engineers involved in this also with the cleanup.
yes,
Is that good or bad?
it's they're not quick.
Oh, that's bad.
Are you saying EPA is?
Well,
or, I mean, are they
well,
slower
No,
than?
we're talking government.
I mean, I could give you an example,
I'm
but I
hoping in
don't
my
know if I
lifetime.
would.
Well, the positive
We went out for contracting on something, and after a year and a half, they awarded 1/3 of it. And we still have to award the other 2/3. And they were like, okay, we'll do that in 2 years, and we're doing it in 6 months. It is amazing to us.
Well, the positive part I brought up about Brian, he told me.
Tell me something positive about Brian. I want to hear something
He
positive.
was telling me he's just now in some type of process with contractors, like you were saying, and looking into what the contractor's going to do and what's happening right now. And he said that was a good point. That was something they could look into, that he's not sure why a temporary situation like that
We could probably we're in contracting. We're gonna award by September. That's our goal. We'll do it. Well, that's another piece of it. The residential work we've gotten. We're just waiting for contracting at this point on that. We've got the money. It's sitting in a bank account to do the work. We've got $35 million that was given to us over a year ago.
So,
And what we need to be able to start is to get the residential properties sampled to figures out.
Is there about 10% left?
No, it's about. I can tell you the exact numbers.
Are these people that didn't agree, or?
So they have to be certified
Or
some
just
type of
have-
way.
We
My
sampled
husband can
211
move heavy
properties.
equipment,
That's-
we'll
that's-
just keep this shit
We've sent results to 182 of those.
Where's mine? Oh.
I mean, there's 30 left that are still.
I
yeah.
I heard
We
this.
have sent access agreements to about 520 parcels.
That aren't compliant.
We have 60 that we still have to sample that have sent us access agreements, and we have to sample them. We're continuing sampling. We have about 208
I refuse.
that are remained to give us consent. Some of those we just sent out a new batch of 150, and so we're trying to go through those and make sure that everybody got them. Part of the, we have a lot of challenges with things like the mail delivery here or the lack of delivery, and do we have addresses, and like people kind of say,
there's a lot of fear of the EPA also.
I would,
Because
it's interesting. We were just talking about why are people not giving access. What we're finding is in this batch of 150 people,
the rumors fly from wanting to steal our land, wanting the mineral rights, this, that, the other thing. I'm afraid we're not going to be able to ever build or anything on our properties. Just a lot of different things fly.
yeah.
And I'm not really concerned about that because I've seen how this stuff works. These groups will just sell around. But I understand people's fear.
And there's
how do you overcome that fear?
I mean, the best thing that we've been trying to do is get our people out, they're door knocking and talking to people directly, and really trying to get information out to people individually and hearing their concerns and sitting down in meetings with them and talking to them about,
here's
schedule.
side of it all. EPA comes in, tests your soil, they clean it up, you're good to go, you go to sell your house, and you say my soil's been cleaned up or it wasn't contaminated. As long as there's not restrictions on building, on rent, because I have a couple acres, I can consider building another home, selling it, not that I will, but I may.
Yeah.
So am I going to be stopped from doing that? And according to the EPA, it's a no, I'll build.
Well, on our end, once the cleanup is done, then once again it goes local. Like this is we don't have anything to do with your building permits.
Yeah.
We don't have any at all. We'll try and help. I want my team to help people clean figure out if their properties even need to be cleaned, because 50% of the properties are coming back as not needing any work.
I heard mine's one.
The second, the other 50%, we want to get those properties cleaned up so that they don't have an issue anymore, and you have unrestricted use. So going back to unrestricted use, unrestricted use is what we're aiming for on the residential properties.
So knowing that we're now in the design phase, right? Design of the repositories, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, of both the work on the residential and on the repositories.
Okay. So is now not the time to start having the discussion on what reuse is actually acceptable or not acceptable in EPA's terms? Because that's all going to play into the actual design of the repository, right?
I think that the reuse conversation, honestly, given where we are at with the design process is about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And without even a conceptual, we're not even at 5%, right? We are doing geotechnical work still.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on right now. Until we get to design 60%, where we sort of say, this is what it's conceptually going to look like. It's a premature conversation, because we don't even know, we've proposed a type of cap,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know if the engineers, after they do all this geotechnical testing, are going to say, yeah, that's the type of cap. That's the type. And without even knowing that, we don't know how stable. So how do we find? So when we do the geotechnical testing, one of the things is to try and figure out how, and I'm going to say this, but how flat does it need to be? How, how high or versus how low, or how big does the footprint of it need to be? And without that information, it's hard to say, what you're going to reuse the property for, because we don't really know what the topography is going to look like, or even the cap and cover. We're right now investigating sources for cover material. So there's a lot of pre-engineering that we can sit down and have the conversation. We can listen,
Mm-hmm.
but we have really, until we get this further along.
So that goes both directions, not only for the town saying, okay, we're a little bit premature on that, but also for EPA to issue a letter like we got in April that says limited to no reuse is going to happen. Well, how do you even know that if we haven't designed the repositories and know what it's going to look like?
I need to look at that letter, because I never said that. So
there is a reuse plan, because I've read it.
Yeah, we've spent money. We've done
You
3
spend
reuse plans.
I
So
went to 2
saying
meetings.
that there's not going to be any reuse is not something we said, because we've actually spent money putting reuse plans together. Now, what we've said is we're not going to reevaluate that reuse plan until we have the information from the design that's actually going to be able to bring that conversation forward.
But the
Yeah, because
overwhelming...
we're just spending money having a conversation that, don't mean to say it, but it's wasting time on what we don't need to focus on, right? We need to focus on getting the residential properties cleaned up.
Yeah.
We need to focus on getting the design move forward, and then when we're at the point where there's something to actually to say, okay, this is what the conceptual design looks like for it.
So we're not even
This
close
is-
to the point where we can decide when to start the cleanup.
The residential cleanup
Yeah.
is hopefully going to start in 2026. That's our goal.
Oh my god.
The
And then that all needs
the big site cleanup,
that's the tailings, right?
the tailings,
I can just get like my house.
and the smelter site. I mean, I think that's more like 2028
Let me ask you.
before it starts.
And I've seen a lot of stuff. I've been amazed at the
I'll follow up with you,
I've
Rebecca.
seen one, I'm like,
The plan that you have in the process and the phases, is that like a typical national plan on Superfunds? Is it kind of pre-designed how you're going to do it even before it's
We
done
have
here?
to meet that requirement of the statute.
Or is it developed here?
Which part?
Whatever you're going to do here, was it designed specifically for the Dewey Humboldt project
It will
versus
be.
no, we did this in Utah, we did this in Virginia?
Yeah, no, we don't. We it's specifically for here.
Okay.
it's funny, EPA showed me other project they did in the past in other places. I mean, look,
The
great.
reuse plan
Took
isn't
years to
online
do
anymore.
it.
I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Now the reason I ask that is because it actually,
I don't know
since it's
where it
not a
is anymore.
national thing, it actually makes the answer even more troubling. And that is because when I look at what's going on here, we're doing the residential first, right? We're doing the residential, but the percentages of the residential being able to be harmful to community is so low because you have to dig. You have to dig and find the contamination and do something with it to end up contaminating yourself. So this process is completely ass backwards just from a safety. I'm an OSHA safety director in the past, and this is totally ass backwards. I'm staring at visual tailing piles, but it's in the back of the project. We're doing all this stuff here in the front that is not damaging anything. Really, it's not, it's like we're testing and we're finding and we're going to labs, and then we have what we have to do. We're cleaning up this 50, we're fine. But the contamination levels or the danger is extremely low over here. At the back end, when we finally get to the cleanup, that was the end that the whole time was the visual contamination that we're doing at the end.
Basically taking care of everything else except the source.
Yeah.
Well,
The
so
source should be dealt with first.
yeah.
But I understand they need to.
I mean, just from
there's
a
actually two
contamination
pieces.
standpoint.
No, it's actually you've got it sort of backwards, and that's probably part of the problem. That you're not walking on the smelter every day.
Yeah.
You're close to it, but you're not out there. Your yard, on the other hand, you're in there every day. That's where the exposure is. So maybe from an OSHA perspective, you're looking at it, but from a NIOSH and human health perspective, like the daily exposure on residential properties is actually, even though the concentrations may be lower, that's where the chronic, that's where,
Well, and I
So
realize
that is
it's
actually-
residential too. People are living there. I
right,
understand
so nobody's
that.
living on this, living on those mines, so there isn't a daily exposure. So what we look at is, what is the exposure? So from an exposure threshold, actually, the residential exposure is more of a priority.
Okay.
So that's why it's
okay. So
leading
I understand.
first.
So the lock gate at the smelter negates that because people aren't using it as a park. They're not supposed to.
They're not. Yeah, they're
So-
not.
so I
They're not.
see-
They're not going out there. They're not running around with their dogs. They're not going in there every day. They're not. The kids are not playing on it.
Okay.
They're
So I
not running
understand-
around
I
on the soil.
understand that.
Their kids aren't running around on the soil, picking it up.
I'm seeing on my side of the highway.
So that's why, in terms of like how EPA prioritizes cleanups, the residential is a priority because of the daily exposure, basically.
I mean, I see the dust off the top of the tail.
But I'm trying to also do in parallel.
Blowing back in the Bradshaw Mountains back there, blowing on all of our properties. I mean, I've seen dust devils come in and pick up so much dust, heading right for Brittany's place, which is a quarter of a mile from my house. If that whole little, I mean, and we know it's contaminating back further in the mountains. They're getting in the creeks, coming back down the mountain. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's when I see a source that keeps continuously contaminating.
And And I mean, and all I can say is,
Get over it.
no, I don't mean to say get
Yeah,
over.
well, that
No,
could
it's.
be.
I mean, it's all got to be done. But like the question becomes like what we're trying to do on our end is do them both in parallel, right? So we have both going on at the same time. If you put one, you could do them in series. It's just going to take longer,
Yeah.
right? So like part of my working with my team is really trying to figure out how much can we do at once, right? Like instead of what ends up with the Superfund process is like you have to do the RI and then you have to do the remedial investigation and then you have to do the feasibility study and then you have to do the proposed plan and then you have to do the record of decision. Like we're linear. Like this process is like this linear thing, right? And then once you get to the Reddit now,
Like that much paper.
oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. We could literally bury human beings with it.
Yes.
And then now that we're at remedial design, we're trying to actually do. Now that we've got the record of decision, it's like EPA is saying, yes, we agree, we will pay, this is the work we're going to do. Now I'm trying to do all of these things. How many of these things can we do at once? And some of them have to be done in parallel. We can't go and clean somebody's property before we sample it, right? We can't build a repository before it's designed.
And then the worst thing is if you pile all this stuff up, this contaminated soil, and it's not covered ASAP.
I mean, that's part of the contract is that it's going to be covered. And there's actually not just covered, but maintained. And one of the things we're trying to put in this contract, in the residential side of the contract, actually, is maintain some maintenance work of the piles. So we're kind of doing some stuff that isn't even, so this is good because one of the things that we're working on right now with the residential contracting, that's what Brian was saying, this is something we can add in because we're working on that contract. And even though it may not be part of the residential work, we might be able to say, we'll do this as an interim measure, we can do these things while we're working on the design, because the design, that process takes years.
Here's another thing that's a little bit out of left field, but I know when all this is being done, they're going to keep the soil moist, keep from blowing away. Where are they going to get the water?
That's a really great question. It's
because I'm on a well. I don't want to see my well run dry over.
How about Mine Shaft 6?
Yeah, I mean, they tell if it does.
Yeah. We've actually been talking about that a lot.
Water's already being pumped out of the mine, so why not use what's already being pumped out?
It's just contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
Not any worse than what's up there.
That's true, and it's going to get covered anyway.
What do you
I
mean
think that's a
water's
great
being pumped
idea.
out of the mine? Who's
It
pumping
got
water out of the
flooded
mine?
years
There's
ago.
wells up there on
Mine Shaft
Iron King.
6 fills up the building with water up at the top of Dakota Logging's property. It's documented that it's been pumped out of there for years. The building is completely full of water right now.
Is that right above the one right here in Iron King? There's another one up in the mountains that's full of water too. From an old mining town. I don't know. It's an old ancient mining town. There's constantly water in that thing.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of water.
Michelle, I want to read to you the part about from your letter, development on repository covers. Because I've talked about this with a couple council members, and I want to be sure that I'm not misunderstanding it. And when I read EPA's letters, I tend to read them word for word because I know you guys are very word specific, correct?
We try.
Try to be. Development on repository covers. We are aware of the town's interest regarding the potential for construction of future developments on the 2 waste repositories to be constructed per the ROD. One at the old Iron King mine and the other at the Humboldt Smelter. As we emphasized during our meetings with you, the permanent cap on the waste repositories will be constructed to prevent infiltration of precipitation into the consolidated waste. The great majority, if not all land use, including construction of buildings or parks, would not be compatible with the evapotranspirative type of cap that is anticipated in the ROD. It is further important to note that if some type of land use were compatible, the responsibility for maintenance of the repositories will be by the state of Arizona after their construction. Any operations by another party that cause or permit deterioration or failure of the waste repositories may trigger potential liability for the party for CERCLA response costs. This would be independent and regardless of any BFPP status that may have existed before. That does not say to me that EPA is willing to have conversations with us on reuse. And I know you identify the word repositories in this letter. You identified the word in repository in our meeting yesterday and told us that you guys were hopeful that we could even have reuse on the repositories without restrictions. So which is it? Because all we have to go officially from EPA is what is in writing.
Okay. I think you misheard me yesterday, because there is no way I said that anything on the repository would be without restrictions.
I can play it back for you.
Okay. There will be restrictions because we will always have ICs on a repository, period. There will always be institutional controls.
That's why I was
on a
shocked when I
repository.
heard you say it yesterday.
Okay.
So this is...
So then maybe, once again, either I didn't hear the question or I didn't answer, but I can tell you that I would not have said, I said what we're trying to do is limit the areas in which we have to, have restricted use, but the things we've once again heard verbally, and we've actually heard from your environmental council, is they came to us with a proposal in writing that they showed from another site of putting a mall on top of the repository.
I've never seen a mall
No.
suggested as...
I have.
What I heard was basically going to put 3 to 5 feet of soil and make natural tundra with no trees, because that can go through the canyon.
Yeah, probably no trees. Even though Steve Speyer at one point in time said during a council meeting that it will be planted with trees, and there were all this stuff, and we.
No, I think what was said is that
I literally stood there and was like,
would we like it to be planted with trees? Yes, I think that conversation started with, are we getting 2 feet of clean soil? Are we getting 3 feet of clean soil?
We won't know what the design is, and it might not be just soil. It's probably going to be geotechnical materials. Like the cap design hasn't been built, and so these conversations are really premature, because until we get
so was that letter then saying that we can't have repository and the soil management? It's like, what is good for us is then good for EPA. If we can all agree that we're still in the conceptual stages of reuse and this or that, then why are these types of letters being pushed out that change the opinion of our entire council and community on what? So it completely stops the conversation. We want reuse, and we want to know what those possibilities can be, so we can start talking about that.
So here's what I guess. Let me ask you what your recommendation is then. So we get, and this is a challenge for us, because we hear, once again, all of this stuff verbally. We hear a ton of stuff verbally. I mean, I'll give you another example. Reprocessing. Have I seen anything in writing? No. Have I gotten numerous calls on reprocessing? Is my phone ringing off the hook all of the time about it? Absolutely.
But who approached you?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Have we internally discussed whether EPA is going to write a letter about it? I don't know how many calls from private industry do I have to field before EPA sends a letter. What I've told these companies that have come to me is, I've said,
You don't know yet. Basically.
No, we've already evaluated reprocessing in our feasibility study. We've even talked since the feasibility study with a number of people who have done reprocessing in other mines in Arizona, and asked them about the feasibility of this site.
Now here's another thing.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
I thought you were done.
Hi, Jeremiah. Have a seat.
What's happening? This is getting sore. Is it?
Come back.
Lucky them.
So basically,
Then, what I've said to these companies is, give me something in writing. If you give us something in writing, we will respond. But me taking a phone call once a week for hours.
Yeah. Of course, there's been companies wanting to reprocess this for years.
And hearing all this kind of stuff from these guys. I mean, I could go on litany of some of these conversations that I've had.
Yeah, I get that. But as far as the town's position on reprocessing, because this has just barely come up publicly to the community, right? Has the environmental team reached out to you about reprocessing?
I'm on your side.
Thanks.
Has the environmental team reached out to you about reprocessing?
I tried.
Environmental council consultant?
it was brought up. So we have a monthly meeting, and you know that we have a monthly meeting.
I know that.
And it was brought up in the monthly meeting.
No, but who brought it up to EPA? Was it the environmental team?
I don't know. I can tell you from my end who brought it up to EPA is I started getting calls from companies.
Okay.
Individual companies. Nobody from the town. Nobody from. I got calls from the state of Arizona.
So
I got calls from legislative officials' offices.
Yeah. So I can't speak for the conversations that you have had, okay? But I can speak for what Jeff confirmed.
This company is like calling me, wanting me to put a proposal together so he can go tell DOD and DOE, and I'm like, we are not your like.
So
I am not. Anyway,
Jeff confirmed to me that 2 council members had come to him about the idea of reprocessing.
Okay.
That is a problem because we have an environmental team who is supposed to be communicating, documenting, sharing everything with the community. So there aren't all these confusions and misconceptions. So who are those council members who took this idea of reprocessing to EPA without their environmental team advising whether it's good or not? I don't know if it is.
I
know there's been meetings.
I did not hear any. I personally did not hear anything from any council member.
Well, they broke town code too.
I have literally been contacted by these companies.
There's always been companies to reprocess.
And so I have been. I mean,
So somebody has to have gone out.
Somebody went out. Somebody gave them access,
cages.
and they went on. They said they went. They took samples. They yada yada. They've been on the property. Somebody in the town is clearly facilitating it. And I have said to these companies.
Gee, I guess I know who that is.
I have said to these companies, EPA has evaluated in our feasibility study reprocessing, and we have a record decision for.
When did these calls start coming in?
Maybe about a month ago.
Well, I can understand why the EPA would be against it. You have a 16-year...
It's not about against. We have 9 criteria that we have to evaluate.
If you were against, I would understand. You have a 16-year window here, and you have a plan that you finally have together, and the process is going forward, and it's like the last 10 minutes of a football game, somebody comes up with a new plan.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
a new plan that's got a 40-year implementation on it.
That's
what
reprocessing
great.
is.
So if there were...
if the town wants that, great. You guys go. You're going to be careful what you wish
So
for.
if there was new information brought up that one of these companies could actually do that. Now, as being someone who doesn't like contamination and kids sick and wanting this cleaned up, right? We have to verify this company to the max. We're not talking a 20-year cleanup plan. If this was presented to EPA, one of these companies were valid, would you guys consider that option?
If we had a feasibility study, we would require it follow the Superfund process.
So
it would be a feasibility
that would be
study.
This company's responsibility to do that
Absolutely.
feasibility
and they would have,
study.
And I've said to them, you need to get your lawyers because we won't let you. We won't. Nobody can touch waste on a Superfund site without taking on the liability.
Yeah.
This company was told that their liability was waived. It wasn't by EPA. EPA is not waiving some company's liability.
I can pretty much guarantee it wasn't the environmental team. So who is saying that information to these companies then? How do we stop this? Because it's creating a whole lot of chaos in EPA. It's creating a whole lot of chaos.
Because you know what? Once again, we're going to say the same thing that we say about all the stuff with this town. That is a town issue. The town's got to deal with it. If there is a company that wants to enter into a legal agreement with EPA to clean up the site, which basically makes them a PRP, then they can bring their counsel. They can meet with our counsel. They can enter into, they could do the feasibility study. What they would have to do is enter into actually an order on, like an administrative order on consent with us that specified that they were going to do a feasibility study. That would probably take, you saw how long the feasibility study took, right? Years to do a feasibility study to
but
make
if
a
the private
determination.
company's running it, maybe it'll go a little quicker than
A private company who's never done this
I've never
before.
done a feasibility study, so I don't know.
I don't know. Just,
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'd have to go through the same process. Feasibility study. If the plan was going to change, They would have to do a proposed plan. They would have to do bench scale, lab scale, bench scale. They've never processed this kind of waste before. They have no idea. They've never done anything at this scale.
And the
before.
metric,
these guys.
tons. Are you kidding me? The metric tons that are up there in Iron King. You're
30
about,
years.
You're talking about a rock plant. You're not talking about just some guy that he has all this stuff and he does a little bit of cleaning up and he has all his numbers and everything. You're talking about a rock plant.
I asked him, what do they do in the one facility that they're currently operating? Just to give you an idea. The one facility they're currently operating at a small scale. What are you doing with the waste? Oh, we just leave it behind.
What can you tell us what company this is so we're aware if they come knocking on around the council again around EPA?
I mean, there's like 3 of them. There's a whole bunch. What's happening?
Off the top of your head,
what's happening in Arizona?
In state, out of state?
Out of state.
All of them.
Yeah, as far as I can tell. What's happening is there is 2 things. There's a change there is a concerted effort in Arizona to try and it's not just this site. There's a whole bunch of them where they're looking at whether there's sites that they can come in and process and bring mining back to Arizona. And it's state elected officials. It's at that's the level that it's
Yeah, I know Selena Bliss has passed some stuff and trying to get things moving. I know that Eli Crane's big on trying to clean up, the Navajo Nation and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff in Arizona moving parts, but
so this one was sort of served up, and some of these companies were told that this was one of the state's number 1 priorities.
Oh God. Okay, I know. We know. Yeah, we know where that came from.
And I'm going to say the same thing I just told them. There's 100,000 abandoned mines. Over 100,000 abandoned mines in Arizona. There's only 1 of them that's listed on the national priorities list.
So how do we continue these conversations? Because, in the last year, and I've been pretty silent on that, I was part of, some of the town meetings. I was part of the January 16th meeting. And then EPA does this twist even to the Dakota logging meeting and then says they will not communicate with the town anymore if I'm involved in these meetings. Okay, I let it happen. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere. I've been on this too long. People reach out to me no matter how many times I try to quit and say I'm done. How does this keep happening? And even Barry Breen, his suggestion was, keep communicating with EPA and ADEQ. How do you do that when EPA is saying I'm not allowed to be part of any meetings?
It's not that you're not allowed to be part of any meetings. It's that if you want to, and I'm like the person basically that, and I know I'm tough to reach sometimes, but we will, continue this dialogue with the community. Like, we're here. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be the next 10 years. I mean, I hired somebody in Flagstaff to try and have somebody even the closest I can get because we have to be required to be in our EPA offices, right? So I can't even bring somebody here. But, I hired somebody in Flagstaff, so we have a staff person on our team who's closer. All I can do is say we're going to continue to be here. But I'm still really challenged with how do we deal with responding to all the stuff that's verbal or rumors or whatever, and trying to get information out to the community in a way that's, because that, like I said, that was part of the letter, was just trying to say, hey, here's the deal, right? Because we don't want, we want the community to know, the town, the council, the mayor, everybody to know, we don't have anything to do with the soil management ordinance. We're being told that we've been told directly that the reason the soil management ordinance is being put in place is because EPA is requiring it. And we want to be clear, we aren't requiring it.
Who's saying that?
This is what we were told in by the environmental group specifically.
No.
When?
Institutional controls are part of engineering controls and are always put in place when contaminants are left at a site. That's specifically word for word what was said. The soil management ordinance has come into play in council discussions. So, juggling the words between, the two and what is this and what is that, and all of these other institutional controls at these other Superfund sites have been EPA approved. EPA at these other sites have helped develop these and help the town implement them. So
the only ones I know of for those are specific where waste has been left in place as part of the Superfund cleanup, and there's been a concerted decision to leave that waste in place, and therefore, institutional controls were put in and implemented by the town. That's very, very different than implementing it aside from the Superfund process. Does that make sense? And maybe it's like a semantics issue, but EPA takes issue with it would have to originate with us in terms of it being something that EPA implements or EPA puts in place or puts into the ROD or into the documentation as part of the Superfund remedy, and then it's the responsibility of the state, and the state may do that through working with the towns, right? Do you see what I'm saying? It's this weird versus the other way around.
You have waste being left in place. We know that at the repository, so we know that there is going to be institutional controls there.
Yes. But the soil management plan the soil management ordinance, from my understanding, is residential. It doesn't. The soil management, and once again, haven't seen it in writing, but from what we've been told, is that, and to us, there's a big difference. Like if you want to talk to us about ICs, and we're still not ready to do that, about the repositories and the industrial properties. Not ready because we don't have a design, so we can't say how it's going to be maintained and what kind of controls need to be put on it because we don't have a design yet. That's one thing, but it's different than the soil management ordinance, which we were told specifically was for residential. And we said
residential properties affected.
Our hope, and we don't currently have a plan for institutional controls in the residential areas. Now that could change when we get to the end of this and we find there's a whole bunch of properties that are left behind. We may say...
Well, that's exactly my point, is it's premature for you to come to the town and say, don't start discussing this, because it's a hard conversation. Who the hell wants soil management ordinance on their property, right? This is an idea that needs to be discussed and started to be hashed out now, because frankly, the idea that EPA is going to come up and clean up the majority of town and all these properties to death, it's kind of ridiculous.
There are some areas that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about anything that's along the areas that we know, like the railway. That's the one I would say, so there might be some limited areas. And the goal is to, once again, how do we shrink the footprint, right? How do we make it so it's limited to the areas of contamination that remain?
And that's the environmental team's whole goal as well. Let's get as many people sampled as we can, cleaned up. You now have documentation that your property's clean. You're not part of this. We have to begin to identify the most toxic places left in town, the areas where contamination is going to be left. So, it may turn out in the end that the only area that has any kind of the soil management is going to be along the railway or maybe on the outside of the Smelter property. But then again, you look at Bruce's property, and his property is pretty much sparkling clean, and he's literally right on the fence of the Smelter. So this isn't going to be an all-encompassing, soil management ordinance. But if we know the railroad is still extremely contaminated and Bruce's neighbor doesn't get tested and his is sky high and we don't have anything in place, that just spread to his property and the property down below and the one next.
That's a major problem that I realize we can't solve here, but that's really disturbing. That's the most disturbing thing about this whole situation. I don't care how many people it pisses off. I wish tomorrow there would be some legislation in Arizona. You can do it federally if you want. If a Superfund has to be somewhere, that means there's an urgent, immediate problem that needs the federal government to be there. So you lose your personal property rights in that situation to have the ability to contaminate your neighbor because I don't want you on my land. That is so ridiculous. You're giving people a license to kill. Now, I'm not saying you are, but that's what that situation does.
You know, we have, I mean, that's, but
It's
private
ridiculous.
property rights exist. And the only time I've ever seen, just honestly, the only time that my experience that I think I've ever seen that waived is when there's a fire. And when EPA does fire response, like the governor usually makes a declaration that basically says we grant EPA access to all properties, and so we can go on those properties. And now the second half of it, the cleanup, is up to the resident. But the immediate, getting all the hazards out, getting the stuff.
And if
that's blanketed. Now it doesn't work for all the Superfund. I've only seen it happen in Stafford Act natural disasters.
And if that was a law and people didn't have the right to opt out, you wouldn't even have the word institutional controls because you wouldn't have need for institutional controls because everything was cleaned up to the point of passing complete cleanup of the site.
Right, except for where we leave waste.
You wouldn't need institutional controls then of residential places
right.
that I have to have a special permit now to plant a tree.
Yeah. Well,
this is
That's exactly what soil management. I've read
this is what we keep hearing is like that there's going to be a requirement, like if somebody goes to plant a tree, and I don't know. Do we stay completely silent? We can stay completely silent. We just seem to keep getting dragged into it.
We're not talking to you guys. That's our town. That's our town's government.
And all we're saying is what we're trying to say once again with the letter, like we're not in this. Like this isn't EPA's. If the town wants to do this, great. That's up to the town. This is not part of EPA's remedy.
You've never seen our soil management ordinance?
No.
Amy, are you waiting for me?
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, what I'm trying to... Do you remember the soil management? I don't know if you were at the meeting. There was a soil management ordinance. I saw it. I do not remember if it was page numbered into a packet for a council meeting or if it was an add-on or a handout. I can't remember.
I remember that Jim presented...
Hamula.
Yeah, one that was several months ago, right?
Right.
I think Matt asked for it to come. He did the work. Matt shut it down immediately.
Exactly.
Then he was asked to do it again. I don't know if it was... I haven't seen the second one that was presented.
I've only seen one.
For review. Have you guys reviewed it or had a meeting to discuss it?
I've only seen one.
We don't really... All I know is the presentation that Jim gave in August of 23. Mm-hmm. He outlined specifically what he was modeling.
I would be very, very interested in you running through those 5 sites again.
Okay.
Because what we did, we went through the records of decision, and actually headquarters, Barry's office, helped do this. To see whether there was anything that we knew of that was like that. The problem is in our documentation, we don't have it because if a town goes and does something, that doesn't have anything to do with our remedy.
Well,
the ones that we have where towns have involvement in institutional controls are part of the Superfund remedy as part of the record of decision and the Superfund remedy process.
Right.
So those are 2 things, right? Those are 2 separate things.
Jim has been very clear to put that statement out to council that institutional controls are part of the remedy when contamination is left in place. What we're getting hung up on is whether you're leaving contamination in place on residential or if you're coming in and cleaning up every residential property. Now, if you guys can come out and say, hey, we're cleaning up every residential property to depth, no matter what that is, guess what? We don't even need to have this conversation anymore.
Well, they can't make that statement.
They can't. So how do we just stop
They
the
already have
conversation?
people that say you're not coming in here and testing.
Right.
They
So
can't make that statement.
Yeah,
exactly.
medical.
So do we?
Our issue is more the folks, and this is why.
That's the purpose for the soil management.
That's-
This is
people to sign on.
why
Yeah. Well, if
we
it's an
have tried
ordinance,
to
they can't
focus
ignore it.
everybody on
You know,
getting people to
it's those
sign
people
in,
that are
sign into
creating
the
that
access
situation.
so
And
that
that-
they can be
You can thank
sampled.
those
That
people.
is
This
the
town
very
has lost
reason
leadership because of you
the
people.
council is also
Well, it's not
discussing soil
necessarily them.
management.
A lot of them, when I knocked on their door, they said it's the past experience that they've had with, unfortunately, EPA
Yeah.
has led them to say, get the hell off my property. I'm not doing this. So then, I mean, is the town supposed to start pointing fingers at EPA and EPA is going to point fingers back? Or do you come up with a collaboration and say,
I mean,
listen,
that's what we've been
we
trying.
understand you people had a bad issue with EPA in the past. Okay? We're trying to move forward, get everything cleaned up 100%. And in order to do that, you either have to sign the paper and allow it. If you don't, then you have a soil management ordinance on your property. And if they don't do it, well, then sorry, you're responsible
Well,
for it.
also, I
And if
wish
they
they could
don't want to have the
understand. I
soil
wish we
management,
could make
sign
them
the paper.
understand that is a completely lose-lose situation for those people. There's no win. Just kicking the EPA off your land and feel, oh, I had this power. There is no win there at all because it's a lose-lose for you because your property is already diminished in value. It's going to stay that way because of your attitude. And in the future, you're now part of the institutional controls also, or the residential controls on your property. And you caused it by not being with the process.
Is
So-
there any attempt to reach out to these people who won't allow you on their property?
We've already went door to door.
I mean, we've gone
That's what
door.
they said.
So, I mean, I want to
You
say that
can't
there's.
explain
I
to them
want to get.
the ramifications of what they're
What did you
doing.
say? Was it
tried.
122?
It was 121 that I personally was involved in.
For the my understanding of soil management is that ordinance is that it would apply to remediated and unremediated yards equally. I
No.
mean, because that's what I thought. Was
If
in
your
it.
property, one, had been tested and turns up clean,
Oh, yeah.
you're out. If your property was remediated, that's where is contamination left at a certain depth,
Yeah.
or is it clean to depth? Do you have a warning barrier from EPA?
That's what I've that's what I'm talking about. Because that's what I've seen is that there's the orange warning barrier.
If you have a warning barrier, then yes, this would still apply to you
Right,
because
that's
if
what
you
I mean.
dig
That's
past,
what I mean.
That's the waste in place.
yeah, that's
Right,
the waste
yeah.
in
Let me
place.
ask you, would it be a good idea, or does this exist and I don't know about it, to have a specific EPA website just for this project for an information stream?
We do.
Besides just this.
Well, we have a specific website for this site.
Okay.
It's got question and answers. It's
been up
got
for
you can
over a
go
year.
on there and you can look up your property. You can.
Now,
I
the
mean,
reason
and in
I
fact,
put-
we had to get specific. Like, we're not usually allowed to make these websites. Like EPA doesn't allow us to do these. And we had Anne really went and got headquarters approval, and it's a test site, and everybody across the nation is like, how come they get to do this?
Now, the reason I asked that,
Well-
and now I know, I never really got into it before. This town, in the very near future, is going to lose its environmental team. We're not going to have it. Whether it's a rumor or this or not, it's gone. Even people sitting here that don't know it, it's gone.
I hope you're
So,
wrong.
so now our stream is going to just be these and people that go and meet with the EPA by themselves, not even representing the town, really representing themselves and their own personal interest. And then if they don't want to share anything that they talked about or find out, none of us know. And the thing that pisses me off about it, not one of those human beings or one person sitting on the council now, other than Terry Nolan, right, has a dog in this fight. Because they're not on a Superfund site or Superfund land. I have a dog in the fight, and I'm going to be limited to information in the future
Well, we hope not. We hope that
because
actually,
I don't have an environmental team anymore that represents my interest.
Yeah, I
And I know that's none of you. I'm just saying this is what this town is now doing to its citizens.
we would say the best information you're going to get about this work comes from EPA, not from somebody else. The best information about this project and what we're doing and what we can do is coming from EPA.
What didn't Hemula say at that meeting that we were at I believe he said that the chances of you finishing this project is not likely.
Once again, the best information you're going to get from this project comes from EPA, not from a consultant or a lawyer or somebody else who doesn't have anything to do with EPA. He has no basis to make that comment or many of the other comments.
I couldn't believe it was even said.
And I understand that may be their individual opinions.
It was his opinion.
You still have the
and the problem that I will say that this is part of our issue is
your
that
frustration.
Well, it's part of our issue, which is that
Were you there?
There are opinions that are made, and then they become fact on our end to somehow people think this is what EPA said, or this is what our position is.
I see your
frustration. And that is a challenge for us. Even with the open house things, I was literally here the last time. I was in. We didn't even know that that was even happening. The town could have invited us, and we could have helped give information to the community at the environmental open house. But we're like even precluded from being involved, and yet we're the ones with the best information. I know where what's going on, and if I don't, I can get my team who can get that information. I know what's going on with our funding. I know what's going on with our contracting. I know what's going on in terms of the overall. I know what this administration's position is. I mean, I got emails from them asking me for specific updates on this project. And I know who,
I think it's just almost kind of ridiculous in a way to say when we're facing this amount of work and money and stuff coming into our community, for the federal government to sit here and say, hey, trust me, don't ever have anyone look into me, don't have anyone represent yourself in your community. I think it's been clear over the last 20 years how many mistakes have actually been documented fact of EPA on the site. So I don't think it's necessarily say, don't ever meet with your environmental team and get their advice. Have us there all the time. We're the ones that have the best answer. I don't think that's necessarily fair to say. Real quick, I'm going to follow up on your question about the other Superfund sites with the institutional controls. You can go back to Town Council's meeting on August 22nd, 2023. This is where Jim gives his first and only real major presentation on, one, what institutional controls are, when they're implemented, and specifically gives samples of these other Superfund sites, to include East Helena Superfund site, Silver Bow Creek / Butte site, California Gulch, Bunker Hill, and Midvale / Sharon Still Superfund site. Now, the idea was, here is what these towns did. Let's look at this and start the conversations to try to tailor this to what fits our very unique community, where we don't want the federal government on our property. We don't want restrictions. And how do we balance that with the risk of recontamination of your neighbor's property? How do we make this work for everybody? So, very hard conversation. Of course, you have people that absolutely don't want it, but start to begin to understand it. And then when we're presented with, again, the letter from April, that instead of EPA being part of that conversation to say, here's our standpoint, this is where ICs come into place, explaining what you explained to the community, we don't have the information yet to know whether we're leaving contamination in place or not. That's a fair statement on EPA's part, right? So then now it's the council's responsibility to say, do we continue this conversation now? Or do we wait 6 years down the road when EPA finally says, hey, gosh, we left contamination in place. Now we're behind and need to start this conversation over again.
Well, and I think that part of the and this is, and I didn't realize the Superfund process is long, right? But part of it is, from our perspective, trying to plan for something before we're actually at that spot. Like, we don't know Like with these, and I've looked at a few of these because they were actually ones that came up, and we looked at them and we were like, oh, this is the situation with that, and this is the situation with that. So, because we, to see whether, how the local ordinance came into place, right? And whether it was part of the remedy, the Superfund remedy.
But how can you even compare a local ordinance to these things when we don't have even a draft ordinance? What are you looking at to compare?
Whether the ordinance was done separate of the Superfund process. That's all we're looking at. Not what the ordinance even says, but whether the ordinance originated from EPA's IC or whether it was done separate of EPA's remedy. So right now, any work done on a soil management ordinance, doesn't matter what it says. Could say anything. If EPA is not at the table, it is not part of our remedy.
Right. And
so the fact that that conversation is happening separate of EPA means that it is happening outside the Superfund process.
Well, that's
okay. So that's all we're looking at.
Okay.
So all we were looking at specifically was, do we know of any ordinances at Superfund sites that were done outside of EPA's remedy?
So
without the agency, without the state, without anybody else involved in doing that ordinance. So if you guys know of one, great. I don't. But we couldn't find one. All the ones that we found, like these, were all part of the Superfund process. Right. They were actually Superfunds. They were the federal agency, state agency, and local agencies, institutional controls, where the three agencies, where the local government is implementing the remedy that's part of the Superfund remedy. That's what we were saying, and that's the clarification.
Because this is not just something the town is coming up with. Jim has made it clear over and over, we need EPA at the table. We feel like EPA is leaving out the side of institutional controls. This has to be done with EPA as part of the remedy. That has been discussed all along. So where you have gotten the information that this is just something the town is doing willy-nilly out here on their own, I don't understand, because I've been part of these meetings.
Okay. So is EPA part of those meetings? Is EPA part of the meetings on the soil? Have we been asked?
So that's where I need to do my next information request for the environmental team.
So it can't be you. Here's and once again, I don't know how to. I'm not sure how better to explain it except for to say that if it's done separate of EPA, then it's not EPA.
So what I want to know now, because I don't have dates and meetings specifically identifying this, I need to go back to Jim and the council, and at what days or times have we asked EPA if they're going to sit down with us and do this, or have we even got to that point yet? That's what I need to clarify, unless you know of something specific where in one of these meetings we've asked EPA, are you going to help us with ICs? I don't know.
I do remember some discussions in the monthly meetings.
Yeah, I mean the discussion is we're not at a point to do ICs. We have to do the remedial design. And from the remedial design comes the ICs.
So then it's not completely fair to say the town's going off on their own and doing this if they've asked you, hey, can you start helping us look into this? And I understand we're not there. We don't know if that's where it's a mess. And we're
trying to get ahead of the curve here. Instead of being behind, because the last thing we want is for you guys to come in and do the residential cleanup, and when you're done, you're done. Those people are stuck with it. So it's better to grab them now, and if we have to encourage them with some type of a plan, well, unfortunately, that's what's going to have to be done. But like I said in the meetings, I think both of our goals are on the same pace.
Absolutely.
Of getting 100% of participation and the properties cleaned up. And if that doesn't happen, well, then what do we do? I mean, there has to be some type of a collaboration.
We've had those conversations internally too, like because, and getting to like a lot of the concerns that have been raised here about like what happens to the real estate. Then those people, they sell their property, they don't tell anybody, they were never cleaned up. Like, we are not involved in those real estate transactions. It's...
Well, regardless, if they do allow you...
We'll have a map, and we told the town we will give you the map.
Bill of health regardless. Whether their property comes back and it's negative, here you go. There's no problem. Or if you come in, remediate it, then you say your property's cleaned up. So then the transactions on the real estate doesn't affect it. But
Right.
by not doing it and having somewhat of an idea, like I live in this area, EPA has come knocked on my door. I am aware as a property owner that there's a problem with this property. That's where it starts coming into play. Not the fact of saying, okay, we will allow them, and you're gonna. What are they concerned that you're gonna come up and say, yeah, you're contaminated. See you later. Clean it up yourself. I mean, what's the concern? Because that's not reality.
I don't know. I mean, I know I've spent some time door knocking, but you guys have spent more time door knocking with the residents that have not given access. So you have more of a view of that than we do. Because I can tell you that every single door I've knocked on, and I haven't knocked on a lot, but I have been out here with Ann a few times now. Every single one I've knocked on has given access. And so I haven't had a conversation.
That's the north neighborhood coming this way down Old Black Canyon,
the newer,
past Ed Sand Trail, the newer
Marabella.
houses. Yeah, so we're not talking to people that have been here for 20 years.
What's the
you and I
administration
knocked
you were saying?
Yeah.
What administration is it that you were saying you're in contact with or talking with, or?
Well, I mean, we have a new administrator,
Please,
right?
Eldon?
We have a new president. We have a new administrator.
Okay.
We are we are being all of the Superfund sites across the nation are being looked at in terms of where they are.
Now, just picking your brain. I don't know if you would have this info. Just picking your brain. When Lee Zeldin visited Arizona here recently,
yeah,
how pre-planned was that, or did that happen out of nowhere?
Well,
when was that? Recently?
Right after I communicated with him and sent him a giant epic saga of what's happened here in 16 years.
Did he come here?
Oh, we'd love to see that.
Did he come here?
Yeah.
Like
he came
here?
No, he came to Arizona.
He came, not Dewey Humboldt. He came to Arizona.
He came to Phoenix
on an environmental visit.
He came specifically to Maricopa County for an air summit that was called by Senator Kelly.
Did he send a helicopter up flying around? Freaking
Not
everybody
that
out?
I know of.
That was part of your geotechnical survey stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Then we send up Zeldin in the helicopter.
No. There was a helicopter flying around for days with monitoring
them.
with the disc. Was that?
That wasn't them.
No, not them. Was that part of EPA's geotechnical?
So.
No. That was the geo. That was the geo mapping they do every so many years of the.
Like no, but we'll take that data though. Who's got that data? I want those overflights.
Oh, the state.
That's contracted by the state. The state does that with that company, and they do geo radar.
They flew over to mine for about 2 days straight.
Basically, it's so they can do mapping, so they can take the information from the computers on a helicopter, and it literally just does a grid map, and they follow it for changes in the environment, and this mountain's moving this far, and but they do it here in Arizona.
Oh. Yeah, I mean the technologies are amazing.
I had a really quick question.
It was an EM survey.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so they're looking for the changes in electromagnetics. So
But you can imagine all the locals, there's this giant antenna hanging under them, and they're flying over the smelter.
So do they share that information with you, or does that not affect anything?
We just took a picture.
Yeah,
because we were like, what is this? Because everybody was asking us.
Yeah.
A heads up would have been nice.
Huh.
Yeah, we didn't know. We just
yeah,
happened to be
like
here
you said,
that
as
week,
state,
and people were
state
asking.
contractor. We took a picture just like, hey, what's that thing in the sky?
Yeah.
Over the
It was flying on you guys.
Yeah, and so I looked. I mean, this is.
That was a few
I
weeks
studied
ago.
this sort
So I had, okay, you're talking about a lot of verbal communication.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is the worst site in Arizona, the only site of its kind, is there any...
Mine site.
Huh?
Mine site.
Mine site, that's what I mean, yeah. Is there, as a citizen, we need to have access to the communication between any government agency locally, like our town council and you guys. Can't you get some sort of a say something, see something type of a... It used to be with government contracts, because I used to work for a government contractor. There was a policy, you don't say it, you see it. You write everything down so that it's a public document. If we have a rogue council member going around making your life hell by just flitting around and saying thus and so, and there's no record of it because it's not in an email, we're never going to find out, and we can't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem, like we're saying, it's like how much
We
how
need
much verbal
information.
communications do we respond to? Like what's the threshold? This is actually a conversation we have internally, right? Where we're like, okay, we've got a this, we've got a that, we've got a conversation on this, we have a conversation on that. We have people calling us. I mean, like I said, I've got companies calling me all the time.
As far as council, you have monthly meetings. You have guys who are appointed.
We have a monthly meeting. There are people from the town that are,
But it's a big secret.
proved to be there.
Don't you know?
So why?
I don't know.
They don't tell us anything.
So why is there not, like Jeremiah? He's at the moment appointed to the environmental team. Mayor Finn's supposed to be there, and then the environmental attorney, town managers there, right, in these meetings. Why is all communication not saved for that meeting? So there's several people in the room. And then I think those meetings are supposed to be given. Is Jim or is Dan or is somebody supposed to put that on paper and share with the community of those meetings, or are those confidential meetings?
So I have no idea what happens on your side. I've never seen anything. The only thing that I can tell you is that we have a communication from the town that says that written communication or any scheduling of meetings needs to be through Jim. And that's it. And that we've been basically told we have in writing, but this happened over a year ago, or a year and a half ago, that we were basically told any communications,
But then, so somebody in EPA is not following that, because Matt has given updates over and over that he is speaking directly with EPA. So
Matt comes to the monthly meetings.
It's outside of the monthly meetings.
He met with congressmen or something without town council approval.
Yeah, he met with Jeff and discussed reprocessing. So who is not following that? Then everything goes through Jim. And I think that's kind of what we're all asking for.
This is a town issue.
Yeah, it is, and we got a big problem.
From EPA side, this is internal town communication and town communication in the council and with the mayor and with their consultants and their constituents is a town. Now,
stuff's done at council meetings is done in executive session.
And
we have no idea what's going on.
We don't either. So if you don't, do you see what I'm saying? We don't have any idea what's going on either in those meetings. We're in the same position that you are.
Well, we don't have any idea what's going on in your meetings.
This is true.
So if you want to be involved in ours, open the door up and let us be a part of yours.
I love you.
Well, the citizens of the town are not involved in what's going on either.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like it's a big secret.
We listen to the council meetings just like other people do to find out what's going on. We have the monthly meetings. I've been watching those ever since.
I'm sorry.
You don't watch everyone, do you?
Because
We apologize for the
only
town.
information we get about what's going on in front of the council.
But they don't talk about
And then no one ever gets back to
Superfund
even
site
if there's
very
something that
often.
comes up that's like EPA related or whatever. We learn, we're like, oh, we didn't know that.
There's nothing that you can see in front of the council about Superfund unless it's an environmental meeting with this young lady and her crew. That's the only time we hear about it, which is kind of upsetting. It's like a secret.
Can I ask a question? How can we? We're trying to do these open houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've done this, and it's great. I think that that so many people come. We know that people won't come to them. We've been told, because when we go out and door knock, we've been told there are people who won't come to these. Mm-hmm. We try and put something in the newsletter every single month. How, and I've asked this of in our monthly meetings, how else can we get better information out? We put a Q&A on our website. We update the Q&A when we get questions so that there's new stuff on there that people can know. But how can we get information out to people? And what do people want to know? And what would be helpful? Because I can't do anything about the town's communication with itself and the community, but I can try and see, what can I do from EPA's side about
you guys
information.
not working for Biden anymore is going to help a lot.
Okay.
Well, I've learned way more than anywhere else just by being here. So
There's a lot of people who don't come here, and we know that.
It's a trust issue.
It's a
That's what
major
it is.
trust
maybe a
issue.
bigger piece
I mean,
in the
it's not
newsletter.
just you guys; it's the town too.
Yeah.
You know, and most of the time, people just want to be left alone. That's why I say we
And-
have a very unique community, and
I mean,
most of the
that's.
people they
I mean,
just
it's like that on any site.
close
we
their
do.
gate, close their door.
You
Anybody come walking down the street that they don't know of, they're packing right
Yeah.
on their door, wondering who the hell is this, you know. And other than that, they just want to be left alone.
That's changed a little bit since they closed the river crossing. People are irritated as hell right now.
You-
Now's the time to get their attention.
You had a
Because
bet.
They're listening.
Oh, I know. We're like, we need to go to the Smelter. We're like, we can't. How do we get around Prescott Street?
Oh,
You had a
right?
bigger
Well-
turnout in the past, I think, when you would do it at the school and have the whole community out for a set amount of time.
But that's the benefit too of having Jim do his own at the town.
Mhm.
It encourages maybe some people that if they hear EPA is going to be there, then they go no, they turn off, don't want to be a part of
I
it.
would put a
If
bigger.
it's just Jim there and he can answer the questions, then it might be a little bit more inviting to some of the people.
Feed us
So-
pancakes on Saturday meetings
Yeah.
and we'll pay you back with questions.
I would do a bigger thing in the newsletter.
A lot of
Why are people scared?
Print media is the way, from what I found in this
Trust them. It's the
town,
federal government.
Because it's a federal government.
a lot of
media is the way to
And
go.
previous
'Cause
experience that they've had with them.
there's some people that are on internet, but like if you try to run for office in this town,
So
you better be putting stuff in the mail.
yeah.
Because
You're
people
more unique
are
than
not
the other
internet
unique people.
people
close my
here.
gate and I pack
They
them.
really aren't.
Now, when the format of your guys' meetings went to
It is what it is.
the open house versus set time meeting, a lot of the people that have been here for a long time felt like EPA was like trying to divide and conquer, right? You don't want us all sitting at the same table hearing everyone else's questions. You want to pull the community off separately, and so they quit being involved. And I've heard that a lot. A lot of people that came to last year's open house are not here today because of the same thing. And then this kind of format opens the door for confusion. Last year, when we were sitting at the table doing this, Bobby Nod went over here and asked someone else a question. We happened to be discussing the same thing at the table when he walked back over, and he goes, well, that's not the same answer I just got over here at this, and he quit coming to the meetings because we don't get the same answer from the same people. I really do think having
it's tough. I mean, I think that
Well, I think that's just a problem of having separate meetings. If you get everybody together,
at the
can't
one,
happen.
yeah, you're hearing everything. That's not the he said, she said. It's this is what happened. This is what was discussed.
yeah, I think part of it is on our end. We want to make sure different people have different expertise, and that you can talk to the people with the different expertise, rather than just hearing from one person all the time. And two, getting a chance to talk one-on-one more with people, just so that they get, because a lot of people don't come because in the bigger forums because they want to actually talk about what applies to them.
So maybe do one of each. Do one of these. A couple months, do another one.
We need a local radio station with investigative reporters that can
That's your
do a
investigative
live report. They can do a live report, and they can follow Matt to an EPA trailer. And then when he's leaving, they put the microphone. Are you going to share this with the people? And we can get live updates from our own local radio station.
So just bring Amy a fifth wheel. Just make her.
Hey, we got that abandoned trailer out there. We can put her in that thing.
Like once or twice
We
a
ever
year.
figure out whose trailer? I'm like, no, I haven't called the sheriff yet. I haven't had time.
Are you sure it's abandoned?
Yeah.
Yep.
I
That's
mean,
why I
it's
asked.
possible it's not.
You looked in the windows. I don't know.
You can't look in the windows. They're boarded up.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's abandoned?
No, I'm not.
To go
But I
find
may
out.
be. There may be some additional manufacturing that's happening on the
Oh,
mine
I didn't
site.
think of that.
Making iron right again?
It was no different kind of manufacturing. Yeah, it's been tagged, but it's not. I don't know. It's pretty new. It's just been there. Just got there in the last few weeks because last time we were here, it wasn't. We were just here a few weeks ago.
Are you about ready, Amy? Do you want to do
Oh
that?
yeah, well I was hoping to talk to you and to you if that's possible.
Okay.
But I didn't want to interrupt, obviously.
Um, yeah, I just think the main thing for me is there going to be
Your stuff's gonna blow away, Bruce.
a follow-up letter
There
to
you go.
clarify some of these issues, or how do we fix
Which issues?
But it's very upsetting.
the soil management, the reuse? Like I said, now you have council
no all
thinking
day
that
long, and they
reuse is
still
not
don't listen.
happening. They're running around telling.
Yeah.
Matt is speaking for you guys.
Once again, we are the best people to speak for ourselves.
I tell Matt that because
Even if I screw it up sometime, and we don't get the message clearly across, we're still the best people to talk to about our stuff.
you need when you have a mayor speaking for you, like
This is why This is why I sent the letter, was so that like on our end it was from us. Do you see what I'm saying? Because what happens is there's a conversation, and then it gets conveyed by somebody else, and it turns into something else.
right. So this letter.
I'm asking you, help me to try and figure out how to do this better. Because otherwise, the conversation happens, nobody says anything, and it just turns into this thing, right? By whatever person says.
It's specific
It happens
wording.
in meetings.
So this letter specifically has divided the council into reuse.
Okay.
Matt has specifically told the community that EPA is not for reuse. We don't need to have this conversation anymore. We don't need the soil management, which a fair statement coming from EPA to say, look, we can't make a decision on the soil management because we're not there yet. We don't know if we're leaving waste in place on residential properties. Here are some areas that we might have concern about. Okay, that immediately lets the council still continue to have this conversation, so we're not put back years when it gets there. But it doesn't officially put a position on EPA. Just, this is what ICs are. This is when they are put in place. Communicating directly with the environmental team and having everything in writing, having a transcript of these monthly meetings that are given to the public after the monthly meeting.
What about? Yes. Okay. So.
And I know that doesn't come from you guys, right?
No. So once again, that's a town thing, right? They want to do that, and we're fine with that. The other thing on our end, I think, is we don't know. Part of this thing is you're asking us about all of these dynamics that we don't have anything to, we don't have any involvement with. Right? We don't have any involvement with the town council and the environmental group and any of this stuff. Right? We just what we have is the monthly meeting, and if information isn't shared, we listen. We listen to the council meetings. We have that, but a lot of it is just word of just conversations. We hear this, we hear that. And we try and communicate on issues that we think are sort of relevant or important to the community.
So Ashley, do you have any recommendations for us? What do you think the best forum to communicate with the...
I don't know. I honestly don't, because because of the history that EPA has in the community, I really don't have an idea in how you start to rebuild that.
I mean, I think we are starting. I mean, part of it is our being here is part of the rebuild.
Yeah.
Right? This is
So, and like what I told you earlier when I first got here, for the last 20 years, you see the same people interested in the environmental stuff, right? You don't really see any new faces. It's the same. Once the environmental team was hired by the town, and regardless, if Jim gives some of his own opinions based off of the cuts and funding, that's happening, and if he says, do I think the site's ever going to get cleaned up? Realistically, my opinion, no. What
the town's lawyer told
Yeah.
the community that the site's not getting cleaned up.
He said in his opinion, with the cuts and the funding, realistically, are we ever going to see an end to this? I'm not, But what happened in the community open forum is each time you had a full room of people that have never been involved.
Yeah.
People that don't come to council, don't.
Right.
Our community is very unique, and we don't like the federal government.
Right.
We don't like
that.
EPA not not touching them.
My husband's the same way.
Yeah. So so to have somebody like that, how do you build the trust now between EPA and the town? If they have trust in Jim and Steve, how do we?
Well, and then how do we work on trust when Jim and Steve are doing these open forums and then saying information to the community that is either contrary to information from EPA, or is their opinion, or also, I would say, encourages the community to not want the clean, to not support the cleanup or the work.
Well, what do you mean not support the cleanup? When have they never not supported the cleanup? When the town pulled back their support in January, when Jeff told Brittany that EPA was encouraging the town to rezone her property? Is that what you're talking about? Because any other time,
there was the whole letter that came out that told people not to sign the access agreement.
Correct, and that was after Jeff's recording conversation with Brittany was released, where he told her that EPA was pushing the town to rezone our property. So for EPA on one hand to say, we don't get involved in this, we don't do that. Well, you have, and Jeff has, and it wasn't a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. That's why I started recording stuff, because what we hear and what we get in writing from EPA is two different things. So I don't think you can really ask the community for suggestions on how to make this better. How does EPA make this better? Because even just from our meeting yesterday and some of the things that you said today and the letter are not the same across the board. So do I have trust that what is said today is actually going to still hold tomorrow? No, I have zero to little trust based off the history. So I guess that's a question back to you guys, and how are you going to make this better for us?
I mean, I think on our end, the thing that we're doing is doing the work, right? I mean, the best thing in terms of the working communities is to be here and to get the work done. There's nothing more, words are words, right? You can say whatever. There's been a lot of plans. There's been a lot of documents. Now it's about getting out and doing the work to clean up the site.
Well, I think EPA is really going to have to start showing the community that the actual work and what you're going to do, not just this hamster wheel that keeps going around and around. And I can tell you one thing right now that the community is going to be up in arms over are these trucks going across Highway 69. This is the first time today that I have heard that the residential contamination from this side is going up to Iron King. The community was adamant about that. You got roads closed now. You got this road closed. You're going to have these trucks blocking the only way out, crossing the highway. This community is going to absolutely blow up over that. because that's why 3B, is it 3B? Is that that's why that remedy was picked, because the stuff on this side stays here and no trucks cross the highway. So if that is in fact true, you're going to have a major issue. How do you address that? That's not my issue.
I hear you, and I think we need to look at what, because we're in the middle of contracting right now. I think a lot of, there's just so much to this site, right? That pieces get, not lost, but just like pieces of information get generalized, and we have to figure out focusing on specifics, which is why dealing with the individual property owners about the specifics of their property, and really trying to figure out, like, this is the specific thing that's going on right here. Same thing with the reuse. It's like there's this huge generalization about reuse, right? And there's this huge generalization about, looking at the things that we're having miscommunication about, and it's because, like, there's so, there's so much of it. There's like, what are we doing in the streams, and what are we doing in the residential areas, and what are we doing in the smelter, and what are we doing over the mine site, and what are we and, a lot of times I think when somebody brings something up, we have an impression about where they're talking about. And they could be talking about something completely different, and so we have to really work to try and, as much as possible, deconflict and be clear. And I can definitely say in my letter, I needed to work on trying to be clear on that,
So there, as far as...
It wasn't meant to cause additional confusion. It was meant to try and clarify. And if it fell short, I'm sorry.
Well, I can tell you, it turned the council environmental team and town completely upside down, and it's a mess, and I don't know how it's going to get fixed. As far as, the trucks crossing the road, I remember the presentation that was given at the school, when it was for the 60-day open comment, whatever. I remember the graphs of specifically, that's why we chose 3B. Nothing's transparent. You had people stand up and give ideas, if it goes across the highway, do we build a tunnel under the highway?
We spent all that time. We met with ADOT trying to build a tunnel and a bridge, and we'd spent.
That's how adamant this community is. Trucks don't go across the highway.
That's how much time we spend on each one of these things, though. Like, every single time something gets brought up, like, our team goes into motion to try and figure out how that.
So
all of this, and I'm
just to flip and drop this now on the community that we have trucks going across 69 and creating this massive mess in the middle of town. You might want to think twice on it.
I was talking to Sharon yesterday about trucks. Anytime we do work, I was just thinking about I was thinking about this blowout right on this road, and I was just thinking about how tough it's been for the town, just even with that situation. I was even saying to Bruce earlier, like, he may not have cleanup, but he's going to be impacted. Every single person in this town is going to be impacted by the properties that are going to have cleanup, right? And it's not something small.
Yeah.
The hope is that we get in and we do it and we're gone, and and it's in the rearview mirror. But we're a ways away from that happening.
I would say, before you make this huge statement to the community about trucks crossing the highway, do you have an idea of how many trucks? Are we talking 2 trucks a day? Are you talking 6 trucks a day? 10?
Well, this is what we were just talking about, which is we don't know yet, because we don't know how many properties. We don't know how many properties on each side. We don't know the size. We're still working that through. Like, I would say in the next 3 months, we'll know for the properties that we have sampling data for. But we still have a bunch of stuff that we're waiting on sampling data. We still have the properties that haven't been sampled, and we have the properties of unknown. We're gonna make estimates, because in order to contract, we have to do takeoff quantities, and so we will know that, because we aren't going to be paying for this waste by the ton like we would normally, so it would be that would be more dialed in the contract. But we will need, they're going to need to figure out how many trucks they bring, right? The contractor is going to need to figure out. So we're going to need to say these are the estimated quantities. So
Are you leaving? I gotta head out too. Yeah, I just know that didn't work.
we've got some wind. I'm still trying to figure out what these other guys are.
It feels like the wind
Something
picks
else
up in
caught
the
my
afternoon.
tree, or maybe the flowers. I don't know. Here, is that Bruce's stuff?
Yeah,
throw it
it's
under there, and I'll
Bruce's.
throw my cup on it.
Thank you.
I just know that's going to be a big
Yeah.
issue with
Yeah,
people.
I think we need to, I mean, we need on our end, we've got some planning to do on the residential work. And we know that. We've been focusing on what we need to focus on in terms of our current efforts. But we know that, like, as we're trying to get the information first, can't, you know, if we don't have all the information yet, it's tough to even start to do, you know, quantity information. But yeah, we know we need to do that.
Do you think it'll be helpful if we have a meeting with the city council? Have we had a meeting with the city council?
So we have met with city council before, the town council before. We also meet with the town once a month,
Oh, yeah.
and the members of council come to that. But they're specific members of council.
Oh, okay.
And the idea with that was that those members of council were supposed to bring it back to the rest of council.
Right.
You know, now that you mention it, I'm almost wondering if it's not better, instead of these monthly meetings with just 2 council members, that we're not getting the information back. If you don't start coming back and presenting in front of council and the community, even if the environmental team is there, the public is very upset of everything being hush hush behind closed doors and them not getting the opportunity to ask the questions. And I even told the environmental team that, you know, when the environmental team was actually formed and I was part of it, and, you know, part of E-Sessions to a certain degree, I told them I feel like I'm failing the community, because I'm asking all these questions I have now behind closed doors, where before I was standing up to the public, you know, public comment, and asking these questions just like we're doing here for everyone to hear. Once I've asked the question behind closed doors, I really can't go back out and ask the same question and get the same answer and conversation that was had. So I think that's where the community really has fallen off, because we're not having these conversations in front of the community anymore. So it may be a good idea to come back and update the whole council and give the community those chances to ask questions.
Yeah, I wonder if we should do that, like try and do something like that quarterly or something like that, especially as we move forward. Because once again, I want to make sure that people are getting the right information. And as we move forward with this project, like we're talking about schedule and stuff, I don't want it to be like a game of telephone where people, you know, they heard it, but then it was transmitted to that person, it was transmitted to that person, and it ends up seeing something completely different 4 people later, right? So
they were just asking my opinion on presenting to council if EPA should do that. And honestly, my suggestion was, yeah, I think you should start coming back and having these open meetings to the entire council, and discussing some of this stuff. What do you think?
I think it could only help.
Yeah, that was my thought of, we're not getting the information back. We know that.
Or you want people to stop talking for EPA. The best.
It would be helpful if people stopped speaking for EPA.
That would be the best.
Especially where it's misinformation.
Yeah, be the best
Because
way is
then
to
we
come
end
straight
up,
from the horse's mouth.
trying to, you know,
Well, and
combat that.
and having these monthly meetings.
I don't like that. Like,
I mean, they started
thank you.
with John Hughes, right? John Hughes and Jeremiah. And then we have the change in council, and now we have the mayor, who wasn't involved in all that stuff, now is. If they switch Jeremiah out and another new council member comes and then you're starting all over, and the rest of these guys don't know what the conversation is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, Jeremiah and the council, you know, if you guys have a recommendation, you know, of I guess the bottom line is like, how do we get good information out to folks, especially as we continue, like, I'm going to say this, but like in the next few months, it's going to go from sampling teams to, big rigs pushing in doing drilling, and there's going to be physical stuff people are going to see. We want people to know what it is. We want, we're going to continue to put the information in the newsletter every month. But if people have questions and, and we want, if there's comments about whether we're going to fund this project, that shouldn't be coming from the town. That should come from EPA.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, the best way is just come to a meeting once in a while. Whether it's once a month or once every 3 months or whatever it may be. And I mean, it can't hurt at this point.
Are they all
So-
live streamed if people don't
Mhm.
show up? Okay.
Yep.
Stay nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard. You don't know what people do with their mail, whether they look at the newsletter or treat it like an advertisement and just throw in the garbage. Some people read it, some people may throw it away. So it's just hard to reach people. So, and you can see with the turnout. I mean, some people are invested and interested, and other people just want to be left alone. That's the most biggest thing about this community, and it baffles some people. But
one of the reasons why I think the door knocking is so successful, even with the people who are,
there was a couple of houses that I walked to that I was shitting a brick because
That's
I'm like,
you. Can you imagine my girls?
I know that this guy is inside of his house right now, and he most likely is looking at me through a scope, and just the way his house was boarded up, and signs, and I mean, very, very eerie feeling. And
What
that
I was
was
going to say
the
is
only
that
one
in
that really got
general,
me
we go to
chilly.
people and we talk to them, and they're actually happy that he came to them, and then they didn't have to come to one of these forums.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to come to the forum of the town, and they don't want to come to our open house. They don't want to have the interaction or be involved in this. They'd rather just us sit down with them in their own home.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who have invited us into their home or invited us to the doorstep of their home, just to have one-on-one conversations where it's just about them and nothing else. They don't want to know about anybody else. They don't want to, they don't want to be involved in all of the other stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the most
What does
important
this mean
thing
to
for
me?
them. Yeah. And that's the struggle for me, is to try and get the people that have refused and are completely unwilling to come to the table and even entertain the idea of signing an access agreement. It's just baffling. And they go, how can we help encourage them? Because there's not another opportunity in the future for this. This is it. This is your one shot. And I don't know if people relate from, well, they were here in 2014, now they're back again today. They'll just be back in another 10 years, and we can deal with it then. Who knows if that's their mentality, but it's just tough.
I came up to
Have to figure it out.
Yeah, are you on city council, Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit more. Right. I'm Sharon Lynn. Are you ready for
Oh, Jeremiah.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
You're new, or have you been with them?
And this is my 30th year with the agency.
Oh, okay.
I used to be a Superfund project manager for 9 years, and I did different things. Now I'm back in the Superfund program. I'm the Michelle supervisor.
Oh, okay.
Did you guys have to meet with Zoom?
I did.
And then in my branch, so I'm the branch manager in my branch.
Right.
We have Arizona, which is Michelle's section.
Really?
We
Huh?
have Nevada.
Oh yeah, the ADQ people, obviously.
Yeah. So anything in California is in my branch.
Wow. Non-California.
Yeah, Michael actually works on
We
Tucson.
have 3 branches. We have Northern California, Southern California, and the rest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which is great. We did like a huge.
Hit a head scratcher, huh?
I actually appreciate working in Arizona and Nevada. Things move, you might think things move slow, but a lot faster than California.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they put up so much red tape; it's unbelievable.
And it doesn't amount to actual results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not cleaning. It's not a more better cleanup. Faster cleanup.
Yeah.
It's usually Yeah, but you didn't tell much of the improvement in terms of environmental protection, in my opinion.
Yeah. We got another session at 5, right? Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a good turnout. People coming up and get off of work.
This is a really nice venue. Like, do you come here often?
Not often.
This is
but
like a wedding venue.
yeah, well, they do a lot of weddings here. They have a special thing out there for weddings. Every Friday night when the weather gets nice and we're kicking into spring, they have a big barn dance here, live bands, and I live just through those trees over there. And sometimes they got a band rocking so good I can almost sing along with them. So some of the neighbors don't like it, but I'm like, man, they're jamming over there, and it's, sometimes they'll have 200 people here on night. They serve dinner. Just music, a nice relaxed atmosphere. So they do a lot of fun things. So up there, they got kind of like some farm amusement activities and everything.
Wow.
So it's a nice place.
Is it like an active farm? They actually grow
Oh yeah,
things here? Okay.
yeah. So their greenhouses up there, they grow a bunch of stuff, and then all these fields they till. It's like 250 acres, right?
Yeah, corn
They
and
till them all up and plant
corn and pumpkins, and in October they have a big pumpkin fest with the pumpkins, and then they do a feed corn way at the end, where for the kids they have the corn mazes.
Oh yeah, my kids used to do that at a pumpkin farm near our house.
Yeah.
Not that near, but
Hi Ann, how are you?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going.
Yeah.
You didn't blow away the